kilometers west of the town of Breka. Pro-Gaddafi bombers make sorties overhead. The rebels fight back in any way they can.
The airplane came and we fight them. Then they bombed us with 3 bombs. This is the one, and the other one there, and the third one there.
The bombers missed their target. Local people think they were aiming at an oil facility, crucial to the war effort in the east of the country. The town of Breka remains in rebel hands for now. The fighters are under-equipped and poorly trained, but they are armed with a passionate will to get rid of Muammar Gaddafi. The battle has claimed its first victims, 6 men from the nearby town of AlJazeera. They rallied to the front line to defend the revolution, and they came home in coffins, fallen for the new Libya they wanted to build. For the people of AlJazeera, these men are martyrs to their revolution. And the more of their comrades who are killed, the more determined they are to defeat Muammar Gaddafi. And so the fallen of AlJazeera are laid to rest. The formalities of death are brief and simple. The inscription reads, "Here lies the martyr Hassan Umran."
My nephew died for his country. He went to Brega to fight and Gaddafi troops killed him there. Each person must be ready to die for his country.
These families have paid the ultimate price in this bloody revolution. And as they say goodbye to their sons, nephews, brothers, they know that other people will doubtless die before the struggle is over. Jackie Rowland, Al Jazeera, in eastern Libya.
The UN is warning that rising oil costs resulting from the turmoil in Libya could impact the global food market. Prices reached a record high in February. During 2010, food costs went up 38% in Kenya, 26% in Afghanistan, and 31% in Indonesia. The rise is being blamed on drought in grain producers like China and Russia, increased demand all over Asia, and stockpiling by importers. Activists also blame the U.S. biofuel policy. The U.S. hands out $6 billion annually to farmers who sell their grain to ethanol producers. ActionAid says this creates artificial demand and inflates the price of corn. Cullen Hendricks is a climate and food security specialist at the University of North Texas, and he explained how the recent unrest has affected prices.
If we use the historical precedents as our guide, specifically the food price crisis of 2007 and 2008, we saw that unrest in some 48 countries, protest and rioting related to increasing food prices, actually had the effect of spurring the decisions in major grain exporters, specifically Indonesia, India, and China, for closing off exports. This obviously had the effect of making food more scarce in international markets and driving up prices. So yes, I think it's safe to say that the unrest we're seeing now can only add more volatility and more uncertainty into these markets.
And the other significance of the Middle East region is the fact that a lot of oil comes from there, and oil prices have been rising, not necessarily because of shortage, but mainly because people are anticipating instability. How much does oil price affect future food prices?
Well, oil prices are obviously a very significant determinant of food prices, especially as we've moved towards more mechanized and industrialized food production, both in the United States and other developed countries, but also in the developing world as well. The USDA estimates that an increase in oil prices of, say, a doubling in world oil prices can increase food prices here in the United States by anywhere from 15 to 20%. So it definitely is adding to the increase in prices. These markets are linked in the sense that you also have speculative capital and also the rise of these commodities as an asset class, so that people who are in the markets not necessarily to trade in the underlying goods, but to speculate and to try and make a little bit of income off of the rising prices themselves, are also getting into these markets. So that, in addition, is contributing to the volatility and the increased prices.
There have been reports of violent clashes between Sunnis and Shias in Bahrain. Youths armed with sticks and batons charged at each other on the streets of Hamad. It's the first time the two sides have openly clashed since pro-reform protests started in the country 2 weeks ago. This comes as opposition groups say they are ready to talk to the government. In Oman, several thousand pro-government supporters took part in one of the largest rallies staged in the country so far. They gathered outside Sultan Qaboos bin Said's palace in the northeastern town of Mana. 2 people were killed in a pro-democracy protest in Sohar on Sunday. And celebrations broke out on the streets of the Tunisian capital, Tunis, following the announcement of elections for July 24th. Interim President Fouad Mebaza called the vote to elect a group to rewrite the constitution. But that means he will remain in power beyond his March 15th deadline. Mebaza said the caretaker government will keep their positions until the polls are held. Anti-government protesters in Yemen are planning to hold more rallies later on Friday. They want President Ali Abdullah Saleh to stand down immediately, but some opposition groups have offered Saleh an exit plan to leave office by the end of the year. Hashim Ahalbara reports from the capital, Sana'a.
The roadmap is ready, but where will it lead? After spelling out their vision for a future without President Saleh, Yemen's main opposition parties say there's little point in any further talks with the nation's veteran leader.
People on the street should have the final say on the political change in this country, but there needs to be an option that avoids anarchy. That's the role of the political parties, but we shouldn't be disconnected from the people.
The president, though, remains defiant. He insists that if he leaves office early, a power struggle will be unavoidable.
Because this country have got a lot of things which are different from any other scenario. We have got Southerners who have been asking for secession. We have got the Houthis who are asking for different ideas and views, perhaps a sort of local government with full power. You have got Al-Qaeda. So we have got to have a clear, perspective of what change we're aiming at.
And that clarity isn't easy to achieve.
The Yemeni Socialist Party has its constituency mostly in the south, and the south is under tremendous repressive pressure. So that is not conducive to YSP participating in dialogue. But the presence of Salafi extremists in the dialogue, I think, has alarmed another party, Al-Haq party, and it's causing additional complications in the dialogue.
In the capital, anti-government protesters celebrated an army officer who joined their demonstration. And they say their fight will go on regardless of the political confusion. Back to square one. The protesters and the opposition are planning mass rallies on Friday to put more pressure on President Saleh to step aside. They want to bid him farewell, and that, they say, can't wait for another 2 years. Hashim Ahalbara, AlJazeera, Sana'a.
Barack Obama has acknowledged that the United States must prevent the flow of guns and money into Mexico. His comments followed a meeting with Mexican President Felipe Calderón.